Hello and welcome. Good morning, everybody. Glad to see everybody in here. Thank you for joining us. You'll notice today we've got a full screen setup. So, our beautiful co hosts here with us will be jumping in here one at a time. So, with us, coming in hot from Miami, our video marketing master. We've got Mr. Jonathan Palmar. How's it doing, my man?
It is doing good. Excited to be here today.
On the other side, we've got Mr. Justin Reynolds in the house. How's
What's
it going
going
in your
on?
world?
What's going on, guys? How are y'all?
Doing pretty solid. Doing pretty solid. We've got a good show for you guys today. And what I would love to jump into is we have avoided something on this show and our community for a long, long while. And essentially, what we would love to do is finally crack open the COVID situation. And eventually, I would love to hear what stories and lessons and things that we can extract on our end that will turn this situation into positive lessons. So what we want to do is unpack what the hell is going on in this world today and ultimately turn it into lessons. And we want to discover who's doing things right, who's doing things wrong, and turn it into something positive. And I think that conversation will naturally lead into another big piece of the puzzle: strategic synergy. This whole show that you're watching has been the result of strategic synergy. So I would love to tap into that on the community side to hear what you guys have to say on the subject. But this is really a long, long overdue topic. And I've been pretty detached from it. I've just been following the COVID situation from headlines level. So a lot of what I know and understand, I've got to kind of give my Joe Rogan disclaimer here of I'm not a biologist, I'm not a scientist or anything here, but I can approach things from the socio-political and business and economic side. We've got plenty of perspectives here. Would love to hear what you guys think in the chat as well of this whole situation. But I know we've neglected this for a long time, and I would love to hear, at least from us and from us, our community, what the hell is going on? How do we deal with this? And what is our route forward? Justin, you've been fairly silent on this issue so far, but I know there's a ton of stuff to unpack, and would love to just give you the floor here for a minute to open things up and let's see what's going on with this situation. It's been stressful for all of us, but I think there's something much deeper going on here than a lot of us are thinking. What say you?
Who the hell knows what's going? Who the hell knows what's going on, right? No, nobody knows, and the media doesn't help with irresponsible journalism. It's to the point where the fear mongering has overtaken everybody. And listen, whether you're on the left side, whether you're on the right side, this is not about that. It's more just looking at straight facts. And everything I'm going to talk about today is literally from the CDC website. So I'd say it has more of a left approach to it. But I just don't get why the shutting down of America is going to have so many more dividends than COVID-19. And now the hospitals are starting to lay off nurses, all these frontline workers that are supposed to save everybody, and they were trying to prevent everybody from coming in. Well, now that the hospitals don't have anybody coming in, they're laying off people. That's real. My sister-in-law is a nurse. I have another sister-in-law that's a nurse practitioner. I have a brother that's a brain surgeon. So these things are very real. Also, I have a brother that's a firefighter. So he's seeing these things they're seeing. Now, is COVID-19 real? Yes, it's real. I'm not debating the fact of whether it's real or not. People are getting sick. However, I just think the extremities of this aren't as serious as what people are saying. For example, the deaths. 80% of the deaths in the United States are 65 and over. That's straight from the CDC website. Well, what about the other 20%? 90.2% of the other 20% or for people under 65 had one or more underlying health conditions. I don't know about you. The majority of people I know are pretty healthy people. So why are we all being affected by this? Now, should there be safety measures in place? Yes. However, let's talk about big name people that have got this disease, this deadly, so deadly disease. Tom Hanks, Rita Hanks, not so much as a cough seen after they announced it. Kevin Durant, he says he has it, and then nothing's ever said. Rudy Gobert, NBA guy. And the list goes on and on for healthy people. What happens? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. A guy said he lost taste in his mouth. Well, hell, that could be allergies. Taste just yesterday because I live. So the things, for example, my brother brought in a patient 2 weeks ago in Dallas, or not Dallas, in Arlington. The guy weighed, let me get the exact facts, 393 pounds. He's 42 years old. He's had a triple bypass already. Well, he died the next day. And guess what made the news? He died of COVID-19. Mm-hmm. Explain that. Can anybody explain that? Are you kidding me? A 42-year-old with a triple bypass that weighs 392 pounds died of COVID-19. There's just more that goes on to this than we're being led by the mainstream media. And I hate that it's so left or right. I mean, yes, I live in Texas. And yes, I probably shouldn't have said this, I identify as a conservative. However, I'm not so hardcore that I'm not going to look at the other side. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm more of a reasonable conservative. I'm not going to believe everything the left says, and I'm not going to believe everything the right says. But at times like this, I'm going to look at facts and base my decision based on those facts. And if the whole world, how many business owners or how many businesses have 65 years old and up employees or business owners?
Well, I think the piece that you mentioned there, one key word, which is a big piece of the puzzle, facts. How in the hell do we consider what are facts, what are right, what is wrong? So that's where I can't contribute much as far as the biology and the science, but I can see this from a socio-political perspective, and this is the biggest shit I have seen since 9/11. Whether it's policies, fear saturation in the media, and some sneaky stuff going through as far as like high level political stuff. So that's where a lot of my attention has been focused, and pretty extracted from the political side. Personally, I'm not left or right. If I had to, I'd be libertarian. I'm still waiting for Ron Paul to get in there and end the Fed. So that's I don't pick. Exactly. So yeah, I would love to hear maybe, Jonathan, how are things in your world on this situation? I know we don't want to get too far off the deep end up on the wrong side of YouTube. Our videos might start popping up in the dark rabbit hole of YouTube. But would love to hear from you, John, as far as personally, professionally. We haven't really got the chance to check in on this. How are things in your world, man?
I guess it's my mentality, just growing up, some of my experiences. Anytime we have a situation where we appear to be, have the cards set against us, where, things just don't seem to be going the right way, when, all of this isolation, there's always opportunity in the isolation. There's opportunity in, difficult times, because this is really when you see the people that thrive with challenges and the people that decide to quit because they're overwhelmed by, their limitations or their perceived limitations. What's been very refreshing is to see all of the people that have actually grown during this period of time where they are in isolation. I think it has a lot to do with mindset. I know that there are industries that unfortunately do get affected, and, there's not a lot that people can do to control it, like doctors and certain industries, but, retail, all of the above. But for me, the most interesting thing has been to see the people that have taken this difficult time and turned it into a huge opportunity of growth, of development, of putting themselves out there, developing content. If you have a phone, if you have a computer, there's no excuse why that you can't be doing something else to build yourself up. So to me, it's been an incredible experience. I sympathize for all the families that are going through all of this situation, but for those of us that, look at this and view it from the perspective of, this is a time where I can grow and I can take advantage of all this extra time I have, it's been huge.
Great point. No, that's a really great point that I think a lot of people are underestimating, kind of that whole cliche of diamonds make pressure. I think a lot of us are in situations, at least us in this room and in the chat. I see the tribe rolling in one at a time. Thank you guys all so much for hopping in here, all the familiar faces and plenty of new ones as well. Welcome, you guys. Feel free to sub to the channel. We'll have plenty more stuff like this every week. Thank you guys. But as you mentioned, John, one of the biggest pieces you mentioned is those pivots. We're seeing some people are just absolutely paralyzed by this. Other people are just using it as a launching pad and pivoting entirely. So I think that's a perfect transition to jump into our first subject of the day that we've got, which is stories of the COVID era. So we've seen positive and negative sides of this, but what I would love to see or hear is anything that you guys have seen as a successful model of pivoting. I know from my end, I've been watching Insomniac Events, who previously does like massive international raves, EDC Las Vegas, like absolutely their business model was 100% events and in-person stuff. And they have shifted into digital raves and virtual raves. And it's been one of the most interesting things to see something that's traditionally 100% in person navigated into the digital realm. And I think they're doing it really well. They're able to get high attendance. They've got Zoom rooms and dance parties, really fancy productions, high level stuff. So I would love to just give a brief shout out to Insomniac Events for somehow making digital and virtual raves an actually enjoyable experience. Has there been anything that you guys have seen, Justin or Jonathan, as standout examples in the realm of here's something you should not do or here's something you should definitely do?
Well, I think being in front of the camera, first of all, being comfortable with it, because that's the new norm. You better be able to sit in front of a camera and have a conversation while people are watching you. But the real estate industry had to shift very fast. It went from doing open houses and taking people in your car to, okay, we can have an open house, but you can't ride in the same car, to no open houses. So we had to immerse ourselves in the field of not only filming inside of a house, because when we're trying to film a house, we're trying to make it look the best as possible. So the rooms need to look big. There needs to be natural light coming in. Hey, do we take our shoes off in the video? Because all you hear is your shoes clinking and clocking. So I think the real estate industry made a very, very quick shift. So I'm really proud to say that, I think they've done really good. Let's talk about public schools. They've done a pretty good job. I mean, our school went from, hey, everybody's off for a week, to a week later, they have all the teachers on Zoom, signed up, putting the proposals together, and making the classroom work as good as possible, and them having Google Classroom Hangouts so my kids can still see their classmates. And so I think from a public school system, which I'm not always a fan of, they've done a very, very good job of trying to keep things together and keep things as normal as possible when it's a very unnormal situation.
I feel like it's like when you jump off a cliff as a kid and you think that it's a lot longer of a drop than it actually is. And then within 3 seconds, you hit the water. And then you're like, oh, wait a second, that wasn't so bad. I think there was a ton of fear around employees shifting to working from home. And then as we made the shift, I think a lot of businesses realized, oh, wait a second, this isn't so bad. This wasn't so difficult. And it makes us really rethink office life, working in a cubicle,
Yep.
working from an office environment, like, do we really need it? All of the commute that we're saving on, all the money that's being saved. I think that this experience has opened the door for a lot more like virtual work where people don't have to go to an office. I think it's a little bit scary just personally. I've never spoken about this, but I think it's a little scary because, maybe there's a part of me that feels like they were testing it for that purpose to see, like what a world could be like if everybody just worked from home, if we just didn't go outside, if we just weren't exposed to, the public. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from this is the fact that all of us can do things from home and still be incredibly effective.
No, that's a huge point you just mentioned there. The realization that the water's not as cold as we thought, and maybe we actually can swim a lot better than we thought previously as well. I know that's been part of the situation for us and for me in this community is I've had podcasts and shows and stuff in the pipeline for a while, for years. Oh, I'm not ready. I'll do it later. I'll do it once I have this built. And out of nowhere, all this stuff comes together, got pushed into the pool, and we're all swimming, having a good time. So I love that analogy that you gave of kind of jumping off and finally realizing that it isn't as bad as we all previously thought. So yeah, that previous element you mentioned of perhaps it is something that we need to explore, because I know I've noticed that in the last couple months. I previously preached working from home, preached virtual teams, the low overhead of no office. And a lot of the times those conversations were received like with a grain of salt, especially from clients and people that were in the more like Wall Street or like traditional old school business mentality. This has given them the polar opposite perspective of like, oh, maybe you weren't so crazy all those years mentioning that. So I am glad to see digital and virtual and remote work gets the spotlight it deserves, for sure.
Travis, what do you think about balance? Because I do think there is a balance here that we all need to have. I think there's a time and place that we need to go in, and there's a time and a place that we can work from home. I mean, 90% of emails or 90% of meetings could be handled by an email. Like it's just unnecessary. And just like dieting, everything in moderation, right? Like I have found out with me having 5 kids, it's very hard for me to work from home all the time. Like I need some space. I need some time to go off and actually get crap done. So I really think since we're talking about this and having that balance and having the ability to say, hey, listen, I'm going to work from home today, or I'm going to work from the office today. I think employers should open that opportunity. That's why shared spaces are doing so well, shared office spaces, because you can come in when you need to and leave when you need to. Like not every day. I mean, when's the last time anybody's filled up their gas tank? I mean, mine's been like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and I still have like I have a tank of gas. So
I don't want to get too far off topic, but I want to hear from you guys. The one thing that I do not miss is Heather talking about her kids, about people asking me what I'm eating for lunch, talking about how the weather is. Like if there's one thing that I do not miss, it's the small talk. Those things take up so much of your time, and realizing when you don't have it and you could just focus on your work, it is incredible how much more productive you can be.
Well, 90% of us couldn't start a conversation if the weather didn't change. So let's pump the brakes. So I would just say it is what it is.
No, that I think the point that you mentioned, both of you guys, really brings us back to office culture. I think office culture is going to be reshaped from here on out, whether it's that optional remote work you guys were just mentioning, or more business models that operate entirely around that. I'd be curious, before we hop out of this subject, we did tap into a few positive companies and transitions and switches. Is there anything you guys have seen as a failure or just an epic failure in the realm of pivoting? Or I've seen some really cheesy, awful COVID sales messaging like, hey, how you doing during this craziness? That sucks. Well, anyway, here's my pitch. Like, and then that's like their only address to the situation. Have you guys seen anything on the opposite side of what we should avoid doing during this transition economy?
I've seen COVID-19 sales experts. How? Like, is there another COVID-19 that he went through that says he knows how to sell? Even back during the SARS epidemic, it was not all working from home. No one shut down for the most part during SARS. So no one, I know Travis, Jonathan, y'all are a little younger. I don't know if y'all remember much about the SARS, but it was much different response. So I've seen fails like that. I've seen people just slow to react. My company in general was very slow to react. Very, very slow to, then they're all of a sudden going, hey, all of y'all go film everything real quick because we got to close tomorrow. When everything was going in that direction, like the whole world was shutting out this time. So seeing the sales experts, the COVID-19 sales experts, there's a lot of just fluff and floof around online presence. I mean, there are some online branding people that are awesome, and then there's some people that are just garbage and will say anything they want to say and make people buy your program and saying how to succeed during this mess. I don't know. I mean, I'm still learning. I learned from guys like y'all. And once again, sort of like the political spectrum, I take a little bit from here, a little bit from here, and I put it all together and try to make my own formula in making it work.
Let me paint the picture. It's a scene from a hospital. The person's on life support. Then it pans to a family having a barbecue and everybody keeping their social distancing. You see a hallway that's empty and it's trying to illustrate that nobody's in it, right? And then all of a sudden you see a Toyota Tundra pull up and they say, come to AutoNation and buy one of our. And you're just like, you look at the entire commercial and you're just like, did they really just try to pitch me on buying a truck during this situation? Or even there's a slight part of me that isn't really cool with Joann Fabrics selling these surgical masks, these COVID-19 masks, and saying we're using our fabrics to create these masks. Like, I get it. I think it's great that you're trying to help, but I always consider what is the intent of the corporation behind the message. And typically, it's very apparent when they're trying to pander to this pandemic and trying to get attention, or if it's authentic. And it has so much to do with the way that they promote it. They put themselves out there.
It's amazing to me how furniture stores are there for me. Like, I get their emails. We're here for you in this time of crisis. Upgrade your house. You know,
lots of home projects. Yeah, Home Depot's been popping since all this has gone down. Got some chat action we are catching up on. Thank you, Will, Dimitri, Stephen Lenz as well. Was mentioning the extremes lead to more issues than looking in the gray area. So yeah, I think there is a lot of middle ground we can all consider to try and kind of meet in the middle. Seisman, apologies, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. The environment is getting better without traffic. Now this is one of those, socio-political things back in the mix now. Is commuting necessary? Is all of this travel as necessary anymore? I think we'll see a lot of that reduced moving forward. So great points to bring up. Thank you guys, everybody in the chat that's been hopping in and out. It's a little difficult to keep up with everything, but we appreciate all of you out there in the tribe. Hit the like button on that little beautiful little thumbs up. See if we can get some extra viewers in here. But let's go ahead and switch into something that's pretty much been our situation. As we've got thrown into the COVID situation, a lot of us have discovered how powerful collaboration and synergy can be. This has been a huge element that has been top of mind for me that I'm starting to dig a lot deeper. A lot of the times you hear situations like a win-win and very cheesy cliche stuff like that. But the power of strategic synergy can change your personal and professional brand. This has been a huge piece of the puzzle for myself and for so many successful people I've followed. So I would love to tap into this subject of approaching strategic collaboration. This is something you can do to change your business, change your brand forever. And that's what we're doing right now. So the other guys here in this mix are very charismatic, talented personalities that have a diverse background of experience in worlds that I've never even been in. So I would love to hear from you, Justin, first, since this is a whole new world. Everything digital, marketing, social media. You've just been jumping into this. Have you had any type of strategy or plan around who you're working with, how any of this stuff happens, or have you just been kind of rolling with the blows and organically working with people over this time?
I would say the option B, the latter part of that statement, is true. Organically working with people, because when I first set out to start working with people, I didn't know what I was doing either. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I want to have, and I hate the word clout, but I like to work with people that have more clout than I do. Why? Because their expertise helps you. You know, you're learning from them without actually, like I always say, sell without selling. You're learning from them without them teaching. Sometimes just you see what they do and you copy them. Birds of a feather flock together. So it's part of that. Not to mention, to me, collaborating like with Jonathan. I mean, he comes from a background that's similar to mine when he likes to do funny, but he can also, he brings the serious side as well. And that's something that I've learned from him, is that I need to dial back the funny, go more serious, talk about things that are somewhat, like today, frictional. I know we haven't talked about it a lot, but I still want to get other people's opinion on this COVID-19 stuff. But when I'm collaborating with some people, I try to look at what their industry is, what they're doing, who their audience is, and I try to go with them there. Because if I say, let's go, I'm going to go talk with a financial planner and I'm going to do a video with them, do I talk about anything financial on my platform? It probably wouldn't benefit me. However, if we have the similar mindsets and I've seen his videos in the past and I know him or her will work together well, those are the people I try to. Now, organic, it's organic because I don't search out people. But when I'm going through the feed organically, I do pinpoint people that have similar interests and styles as I do.
Yeah, no, that's a huge point. I think the critical piece you mentioned is there of pieces and styles that you don't do. So the whole goal of any type of strategic collaboration is to fill a weak point or something you wouldn't previously be able to do. I'm curious if Lee or anybody else in the chat has had success. Lee is one of our leaders in our tribe here. His entire business model is around training people and leaders and organizations on strategic collaboration and how to create those situations of 1 + 1 = 3, where the total sum is much more than each of you would be able to create individually. And that's where a situation like this comes into play. There's no way I would be able to do a show like this or all the post-production and all of that 100% on my own. And likewise with other people in our tribe and in our community. So I think that's a huge piece of the puzzle we want to mention. Anybody that's in here right now, this is essentially as much as we don't want to call it a cult, it's a cult of collaboration. It's a community of people that really are just trying to help one another. So if you're in the business, entertainment, arts space, anything in that realm, and you're trying to level up or collaborate or just turn your creative energy into something more productive, we'd love to have you join our tribe, our community. Go ahead and hit subscribe, connect with all of us on LinkedIn. That's what we're here for. So John, I'd love to hear on your end the approach that you have to strategic synergy, whether it's partnerships or collaborations, because it looks like Justin and I are kind of coming from an open-ended, we'll work with anybody, work with anything, but want to make sure that we have some type of value to contribute. From what I've seen in your experience, you're much more critical about who you work with, how you work with them, and then the final product as well. You're very mindful of what your final product is out there in the world. What type of strategy or planning do you have for your collaboration or partnerships?
Your content is your reputation. Your content is what people see on the LinkedIn feed, which arguably they spend more time on than they do profiles. So a lot of times we have to put into words, put into content, our resume, what we do, how we do it. So, in the same way, it's very important. It's very important when you do reach out to people or they reach out to you and you decide to do this collaborative work. What I will say is that I believe that your ability to collaborate and your ability to network with these people is 70% of the process of building a following, actually. I know that my affiliation with Shay skyrocketed my success in a way that I could not have done without her assistance, without her guidance, but most importantly, without her affiliation. And then, because of that, obviously, I was introduced to people like Travis and people like Victor and people like Justin. And just through the whole process, I've found people that I feel confident working with and that can bring out the best in me. We have to be super self-aware of what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are. You got to really sit back and say to yourself, okay, I am not good at X, Y, and Z. Who are the individuals that can complement these things? When I look at guys like yourself, Travis, and Victor, yes, me and Justin, we're very charismatic, we're creatives, but we are the epitome of disorganization. And I don't know what's I'm sorry to speak for Justin. I'll let him chime in a second. But I don't know what the correlation is between charisma and disorganization or creativity and just being a mess. But I can't manage all of these things that Travis and Victor do flawlessly. To kind of give a background, it is the most incredible feeling on a Saturday night, late on a Saturday night. I'll get an email from Victor. I'll get an email from Travis. They have a plan put together. They've built something. And it makes me feel so good that I'm aligned with a team of individuals that are so great at what they do. They keep me in line so that I can be the best at what I do, and then they can be the best at what they do, and I can help them in that way. So it's been incredible, the synergy and being able to work with collaborators that really are really motivated and want to take everybody to the next level.
Huge. No, you mentioned the biggest piece there, self-awareness. If you do not have the self-awareness to recognize and then have, I guess, the ego or the opposite of the ego to be willing to accept that and be like, hey, I suck at video. I need people that do this, that, and that, or anything. A lot of the times, I know as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, that was the biggest thing that crippled me for so long is assuming and thinking you had to control everything and do it in your realm. And this has been the biggest piece over the last couple years in music and art and business is being a producer or a creator or a director on that end and having talented people like you guys or a pop star, somebody that can go step on the mic and kind of steal that light, being able to create that world. There are so many roles that you can find. I kind of think of it like a hockey team. You can't have a team of all first line scorers. You need to have a scoring line and a checking line and a team and some grinders out there to keep things going. Justin, I'm sure there's exact same metaphor applies in football. Any type of team, just recognizing your role, what you're good at, and what you need to fill will be a huge, huge piece of the puzzle, connecting people for, I guess, positive collaboration. It's a limitless, bottomless pit. Lee, I would love to hear if you have any advice to throw in the mix in the chat. I know we've got plenty of areas to explore in the realm of collaboration, but it's been amazing for me so far. So I'm just trying to break through to you guys on the audience and that you're not out there alone. There's so many people out there to collaborate and do bigger and better things. So just be on the lookout continuously for those opportunities. So I think that wraps up at least our official official show, we can go ahead and jump into our bonus round, which means we officially made it through without things going off the rails, but we do want to open it up back to the community. At the end of the day, this is a community show. We'd love to hear from you guys. We stirred up the pot a little bit at the beginning, but didn't get the chance to hear from your end. My perspective on COVID is pretty detached and libertarian. I'm doing my thing. I'm hustling, doing my anything in my control, but would love to hear from you guys. What are you doing in this situation? Are you collaborating with people? Are you reaching out? Would love to hear how we can be helpful, how you can join the mix. And Jonathan and Justin have just been, the greatest collaborators over this time. So I'm sure they're open to any communication that you guys want to hear from them as well. So feel free to start firing up the chat. Anything that you guys have been curious on those previous subjects that you want to ask, we're more than happy to hop into those as well. Thank you, Greg. I see you back in here. Appreciate the commentary and our fun little graphics getting some love. We're trying to level up here 1 week at a time. So anything, Justin, that you wanted to open up on the subject?
Yeah, actually, speaking on collaborations, so obviously I'm still new at this. However, I have had the opportunity to collab with some people, and for anybody that's new on LinkedIn or saying, "Oh, I really want to do that," when you ask for someone to do a collaboration with you, sort of have a game plan of what you want to do, because the people that have asked me previously that I have not done stuff with sometimes didn't have a plan. They basically wanted me to do all the work and then put it either on my channel or their channel. I really don't care about that. But I don't want to do all the work just by myself. I like to have, once again, you talked about synergy. There has to be the synergy, because I've had a guy saying, "Hey, I'd love to do a collab. What you got?" And they straight up asked me. I'm like, "Hey, I didn't message you. You messaged me. What are you thinking?" "Oh, I didn't know. I was just trying to pick your brain." I'm like, "Okay." So just sort of have a game plan. It just helps having a game plan. Now, if I've seen someone and they're trying to make ideas and they're just not working, maybe that their idea has given me an idea that could work. So just a little ideas to help, because it is weird getting DMs saying, "Hey, I want to collab. What are you thinking about doing?" And you're sitting there sort of bewildered because you don't know what's going on.
No, that's a huge piece, especially the higher up the food chain you go, as far as that clout you're talking about. That time's going to be more and more valuable. So the more you can make that partnership very clear, here's what I need, here's what I do. I know I've seen it with like high level music collabs. It's insane to watch these guys start from email thread, and then they send the project back and forth, like from UK to LA, and then it's done in like 4 or 5 versions. But it's because one of them had a clear vision from the start that says, here, this is what I'm thinking, here's the section I envision you filling, and then I'll fill out the rest. Like the high level pro collaborations tap into exactly that. You need to make it as lean and as simple and as clear as possible. Great point.
Something that I want to mention is we live in such an interesting time, because within the last 10 years or so, now we have such easy access to celebrity level individuals. Now, I'm not saying that any of us in this room are celebrities, but some of us do receive, sometimes hundreds of messages a day. And I think that there is this impression that just because you can reach us means we're entitled to respond or to give in to whatever you might need or whatever you might be looking for. Here's the thing, just like Justin had mentioned, people will reach out to me and say, "Hey, can you help me with this? Can you do this for me?" And I would say that it doesn't work. Even if somebody tells me, because I get this a lot too, is, "Can I pick your brain?" And it's like, okay, I don't want to say that there's a price to picking my brain, but I would much prefer, like, tell me something that's missing on my LinkedIn profile. Tell me something that I can work on in my video content. Bring the value up front. And then towards the bottom, mix in, yeah, and by the way, I'm kind of struggling in this area. Do you know someone that can help me? That's also effective. Don't make it direct. Don't ask directly. You could say, do you know someone? And then I'm more inclined to help them because I don't feel like it's as selfish of a request as opposed to, when they're just so forthcoming with what they want. And on the other side of the spectrum, the hi, hello messages are just as bad. It's like I find myself more now than ever, it almost sounds like bitter, but I'm just like, hey, nice to meet you. Can you kind of get to the point? I gotta kind of move on from this. And I hate to say it that way, but it's just the reality of what we deal with now.
No, that's a huge piece for any communication. It's be as mindful as possible of someone's time. I think just in a broader sense of society, of marketing, like people's attention is valuable. We can spend our attention in so many places if we wanted to. So if they're giving you that attention or that time, make sure you're maximizing it for sure. So just to sum up, I guess this collaboration and synergy thing, there's a few key pieces here from the chat and from both of you guys as well. The first thing you need to do to have successful synergy is understand your self-awareness. What are you good at and what are you not good at? The other piece that Lee mentioned is getting over the competitive fear of collaborating with somebody. You need to understand the synergy of that's going to be far more valuable in the long run than competing or giving up your audience to someone else. That you got to break down. And then the third piece of the puzzle that these guys mentioned, have a clear game plan and mission moving forward. Just be mindful of whoever you're reaching out to and respect their time with a creative, interesting project that they'll want to get going on with a clear route forward. And I'm sure your collaboration will level up from there. Thank you guys for that excellent insights. I think that'll be really helpful for people that have been considering it for a while but haven't quite jumped in there. Lots of chat in here from Greg and Lee saying pick my brain rates should be $200 an hour minimum. Fair enough. Yeah, we've got I think we've all been on that side. Greg's experiencing some Zoom burnouts. We're starting to all feel a little bit of that as well. Could definitely use some human meetings instead of Zoom ones. Any other questions that you guys have had here? And let me jump in the chat once more to check in. Appreciate all you guys hopping in here again and sticking with us. The chat button, bringing value and finding ways to help others first. No, that's the strategy, Brandy. Steven Lenz in the house. Welcome back as always, Steven. Another fellow disorganized individual. Feel free to join us. The collaborate or some collaboration of disorganization. We've got plenty of that here. So any other open-ended chats? We are starting to run out of steam here. If there was anything that you guys wanted to talk about in those previous subjects, we are more than happy to jump into those questions. And we'll have highlights for sure from all the shows, but just wanted to drop at least the sincere thank you while everybody's in here still. Make sure you subscribe and like this video. Should give you notifications for all the future stuff. And join our little tribe of collaborators we've got going on. Justin and Jonathan have been really helpful in giving this whole adventure kind of an anchor point. But we are completely open to bringing more talent and other creative people on board. So keep in the loop, and we'll make sure all of this is continuously moving, evolving, and we'll keep it rolling from there. Do you guys have any final insights you wanted to throw in there, Jonathan or Justin, while we're still cruising through here?
I'm good. I mean, it's, don't get burnt out. We've all been on social media for about the last 60 days. Online, Zoom, you're going to burn yourself out. And the problem is we don't know where to stop. We're home, but we're not home. My kids see me, but they don't see me. Like, there has to be some healthy boundaries set up. go and love on your families. When you're done with the day, put up your Zoom, put up your social media, because that can be literally a 24-hour, 7-day a week job. And now that we all have access, there is no more open hours for work. If you're home and you have your device, you're working. Like, even for people that are in office, quote unquote, 9 to 5 jobs or 8 to 5 jobs, now that's no longer a thing. That's the one thing about remote work. If you're at home and you have access to your device, you get that email, most of us are going to tend to go work and do our email, get caught up, whatever it is. So I'm just telling everybody, make sure to learn to set healthy boundaries. This is a crazy time. Set those boundaries so you can, take care of yourself. I mean, it might be selfish, but you got to take care of yourself. When you're on a plane, guess what they say? To put your mask on first before assisting others. So take care of yourself. Make sure you're still spending time with your loved ones. Good, healthy time. Not time that's, oh, I got to go do this. I got to go do this. Just unwind, unplug. That's what I want to leave with today.
Love it.
So I saw a question from Will about how we all kind of came together. I don't 100% recall how we ended up putting all this together, but if I'm being completely honest, of anybody on LinkedIn other than Shay, and the reason why I aligned with Shay is because I was jealous of how successful she But everybody that is in this group right now, I was jealous of them. I was jealous of their specific skill set. And I always tell myself, okay, you can't beat them, so might as well join them. So I started working with all of these guys because I recognize the fact that instead of, internally holding on to some type of hate, that they're so successful at what they do. Travis with the sliders and the music, and then Victor with the video production, and Justin with the charisma. Instead of saying to myself, okay, I'm just going to be jealous of all these guys and I'm just going to step up my game, I'd rather work with them all and then kind of put together like a social media Avengers as opposed to fighting against them. There's just no point in that. And so for me, at least from what I can recall, that's kind of how it got started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has been an adventure, but I am so beyond grateful for every move that's brought us here. In some it's all about reaction. I think very little of this was planned or put in place. But the short version of this community, this event, of this moment today was supposed to be a live event months ago. Victor and I were we had connected on LinkedIn, never met in real life or anything, and we're trying to get a LinkedIn community meeting in person. As soon as we got that set up, got the venue booked, got everything set up, speakers and everything, COVID hit. So we adapted from that situation. We could have easily said, F it, and never talked again, never done anything, and said, well, it got canceled, whatever. Instead, we adapted and we turned that event into the Deep Link event. We were doing test Zoom sessions. We were doing virtual digital roundtables. I don't know if a lot of the people in this chat probably remember some of those. And eventually we discovered, okay, there's a community going on here and there's media production going on here. Let's give this an umbrella. Let's give this a home. And that's what we're doing right now. This is what you're seeing. This channel you're hanging out on and you're about to subscribe to, the Beast Node, is a home for high performers. Anybody in business, entertainment, art, or sports, and you're just trying to level up, that's who we're serving and the community we're building. And that came to fruition solely from reacting week after week after week. And we're going to continue to do that. So keep any open feedback our direction. Keep sending it. Throw everything you can our way, what you like, what you love, what you hate, and we'll continue evolving and making this better and more valuable for you guys. That's at the end of the day what all of this is for. So just wanted to drop the sincere thank you for your guys' continued support as we figure out what this is becoming. But it's getting bigger and better every week, and it's because of you guys. So just wanted to drop that sincere thank you. Stay open to collaboration. Connect with anybody in here. Connect with Victor if you need video stuff. Connect with Will if you need any advice getting stuff going in like college and getting on the early end of your career. Lee, connect with Lee if you're serious about organizational collaboration and synergy, and you need to get serious about that. These guys, Justin and Jonathan, are huge video talents to tap into. So that's really all we're trying to do here. There's no community, there's no company. It's just a cult of collaborators working together and trying to make this world a little bit better. So we'd love to have you. Feel free to subscribe, follow all of us on LinkedIn. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Is there anything else you guys wanted to throw in here?
All good.
Awesome. You guys take care. Awesome. Thank you guys to everybody in the chat. We're going to go ahead and finish this one up. See you in the LinkedIn realm. Thank you all, and see you next week.